You're tuned into the Writing Community Chat Show, the live streaming YouTube podcast that brings you the stories of authors, screenwriters, and more. Indie or established, this show's for the community, and we invite you to be a part of it. Head to the writingcommunitychatshow.com for more info. The WCCS. Together as one, we get it done.
Hello and welcome to the Writing Community Chat Show. Hello everybody and welcome to this week's Writing Community Chat Show. We kicked off season 17 last week with David Cohen and it was a fantastic interview that is available everywhere to watch back on YouTube and listen on the podcast wherever you do get those. And thank you to those that tuned in live and left some comments. Hello to you that are in the comments in the chat right now. Please do leave some comments and interact with each other on there. That would be fantastic. Yeah, it's been going really well and it's great to get the season back up and running. Having a nice Christmas and New Year, and hopefully you all did do that. And this week we've got a great guest on, an indie author, which is really cool, as we have lots of indies that appear on the show and become part of our community as well, which we love. You may notice that Mr. Hooley is not with me. He is stuck in traffic somewhere, probably down to the big storm that we've got going on in the UK. Hopefully he'll be nice and safe and gets back, maybe joins us, we'll see. And in other news, I've dipped my toe into something new, which is poetry. Yeah, a bit of a strange one for me, but I've actually written 4 poems, 3 kind of almost winter and dark related macabre sort of poems, and 1 complete horror poem. And I've actually submitted all of those into different competitions. So we'll see what goes on with them. And if you're into poetry or if you have written poetry, let me know. I'd be interested to see who else is on that journey. Yeah, hello in the chat. Hello, Gemma, Rob, Anya. Nice to see you all in there. And please do, if you have questions throughout the show, drop them in the chat. I can bring them on screen and we'll get our guests to answer them if we can. And I'm going to introduce that guest on so I don't have to ramble on my own so much. So our guest tonight is a man who's mastering the art of building a community on TikTok. He is an indie author known for his gritty, high-stakes thriller, Gone Before the Moon, which you can see up in the corner there. But beyond the page, he is building a dedicated following by pulling back the curtain on his process and showcasing his work through his popular TikTok live streams. He's showing the world that being an author isn't just about writing in isolation. It's about building a community. So if you'd love to know more about William, his books, or learn about his TikTok lives or how they're building an author brand, then you've come to the right place. Everybody, give me a nice hand in welcoming William Lee to the show. Hello, William.
Hey, mate. How's it going?
Yeah, it's going really well. Thank you. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing all right, to be fair, mate. I'm doing all right.
Yeah, that's good to hear. How was your sort of Christmas and New Year break? Was that kind of productive for you? Was it nice and relaxed? How did that go?
It was all right. I got a good chunk of time off work, so I was doing a lot of editing for the soon-to-be released book 2. So I've sort of got the final touches of that done. Started dipping my toe into some future works as well with book 3 and a short story and all this sort of stuff. But as well as, just spending a lot of time with family and everything like that, which I've really sort of needed because I was going quite heavy in terms of work and writing at the same time. So. Yeah.
It's nice to have that break, isn't it? And what happens to a lot of people, they'll either get into the whole sort of festivities and kind of put writing on the back burner, or that's their time that they haven't had during their kind of working life, to get stuck into it. So it's finding that balance and deciding which way you're going to go. For me, it was kind of the opposite. I didn't get much writing done. Weirdly got those poems written. I don't know why or where that came from, but yeah, I'm glad that you're working on it. And I know book 2's come in, so we'll talk about that in a bit. So kind of, how are you feeling about that, having kind of such a great reaction for book 1?
Yeah, I should be really confident, but the trouble is, when you're sort of an author, you've always got that imposter syndrome. So you're always feeling, people are going to like it. And even though the response has been really, really good for book 1, I'm now worrying that book 2 isn't going to live up to it. But again, I think that's just me getting inside my own head. The people that have, been beta reading for me and stuff have gave me loads of really positive feedback. So it's always reassuring when you sort of get that.
Yeah, it really is. And imposter syndrome, honestly, I've talked about it so much on this show. It is, everybody suffers with it. And I'm talking about the biggest authors we've had on this show, you know, New York Times bestsellers. They still talk about the books that they've got coming up, and they get the imposter syndrome. It's something that doesn't go away. And it's just something that we need to get used to and deal with. But I'm kind of interested, before we get stuck into all of that, and I've got already questions that are sticking into my mind. Let's rewind it back a bit. You know, writing for you is something obviously kind of consuming your life right now, through TikTok and through your books as well. So where did that start in your life? Where was that kind of spark of imagination and creativity? Where did that come from? And kind of, do you remember when that happened?
So a lot of people would say it'd be like when they were really young, like they loved reading books and that. But when I was in school, I wasn't really that into reading, surprisingly. Yeah. I didn't really like English at school, to be honest. But then it got to about 3 months before the final exam. I think I badly failed the mock exam. And I remember my dad saying to me, you get that grade for writing your name on the piece of paper. So I thought, you know what, I've really got to do a bit of studying here. So I learned pretty much essentially how to write creatively and all these different techniques and everything, and then put it a little bit on the back burner. I thought, oh, I'm all, you know, worked out on this. And then I picked up reading as a hobby probably about a year after high school, and started it sort of casually. And then I got into a couple of good series and a couple of standalones and stuff. And then I thought, you know what, I could do this myself. And I was quite a big fan of, you know, all things TV and everything like that. So I kept getting all these ideas for stories, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to start writing. And I wasn't sure whether it was just going to be some online short stories or what it was going to be. And then lo and behold, you know, 18 months later, I released my debut, Gone Before the Moon.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. I mean, so many people, actually comments coming in now that people love your books, and someone said they've already read book number 2. It's a bit cheeky, but they love it. Yeah, it's fantastic. And, you know, most of the people we do have on the show do say, you know, when I was young, I knew what I wanted to be. I was very similar to you, kind of came later on in life, but it's something about some people really struggle to get those creative stories. And from what it sounds like, that you have that natural kind of creative flow in your mind and the ideas popping up. So ultimately you went with kind of the darker, more supernatural style of writing and story wise. So why do you think that was the direction you went in?
So initially the series was going to be sort of a superhero series, because I'm quite a big Marvel nerd. But the first sort of story was going to have some supernatural elements, because I quite liked the grittiness of some of the stories. I didn't want somebody, you know, running around in red spandex or anything like that. You know, I wanted something quite gritty, a good story. So I sort of settled on a disappearance, and then stuff's going on, you know, conspiracies, all this, part of a bigger story. And because it was a supernatural sort of element to it, I enjoyed that bit so much that I went, sod it, I'm just going to make it a supernatural series. And don't get me wrong, I've got some like little bits of some grounded superpowers in there as well, because it works quite well with the story. But yeah, I just loved writing about this, all the different supernatural stuff, and putting my own spin on them as well, because I didn't want to do sort of, you know, your generic what everybody does. I wanted to put my own sort of spin on it. So if somebody reads my book, they can go, oh, I really liked how they did this, because they did it slightly different, which I've already had quite a few compliments on, which has been really nice to see. So yeah,
that is kind of the trick, isn't it? Because a lot of people, a lot of the genres have been kind of saturated in many ways and in many forms, and it's having the ability to create something already in a genre but make it different, and to have that praise such early on in book 1, it's kind of a reassuring comment to your praise to your writing, to say that you have that ability to make things different and appealing to an audience that may have read similar work before. So I think that should be a big confidence booster in that respect.
Oh yeah, 100%. I like it. Links back with that imposter syndrome. Like, I think it sort of eases it slightly when you get those compliments, but it never truly goes.
It's a question for you then, because so many people do it, myself included. When Gone Before the Moon was released, did you actually take the time to sit back and realize that you just achieved something great and kind of celebrate it? Or did you just, like most of us do, what's next?
I just went straight into writing the next book, to be honest. Like, by the time it got to the release, because I was waiting on feedback from people that were sort of proofreading it and beta reading it, I'd started writing anyway. So as soon as the second one got out, I started writing the next one anyway. And because I wasn't selling on TikTok straight away, I was just selling on Amazon. I sort of didn't really have to do too much with it. But then as soon as I started selling on TikTok, and I went, okay, I've actually got to get in my own stock. I wrap the books up, I sign the books. You've got that sort of more personal touch. And I think that was the point when I was sending out the first couple of orders. I was like, hang on a minute. I've sort of made it. I'm not just selling to, my mum and dad and my mate from school. I'm actually getting people online that have seen it and gone, oh, this sounds quite interesting. I'll take a chance on that. And I think that's the moment where I sort of realized.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, it's great everyone has to look at, how they're going to brand themselves. And I looked at a really kind of depressing Facebook post this week that someone talked about, 3 years of their life, they worked really hard on their book and no one's basically buying it. And it's a sad realization that we all have as an indie author, that when you've worked that hard and you've released that book, suddenly marketing hits you right in the face and you realize you've got to sell this. It can't just exist on Amazon and hope people pick it up. So turn into new things like TikTok and learning how to use them and promote your work and build yourself build your author brand, which is really important, is the way to go. So how did you decide upon, TikTok is the way for you?
So, well, initially I had quite a few sales in person and stuff, and I thought this is good, but then I was going to hit a wall where I just wasn't going to sell. And I'd seen a few authors selling on TikTok, and I sort of started asking a few of them sort of what they were doing, benefits, and everything. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, it's a bit of a no-brainer. You can add them to your video, so when you go live, instantly you've got a shopping basket there where somebody can look at it, ask you questions, then buy it on the spot. You've got the whole personalized touch where you wrap it yourself, you send it off yourself, and then you can add in bits like bookmarks. Some people are putting in like little bits, packets of sweets and tea bags and whatever. And then the royalties are fairly more beneficial to sort of do the TikTok sales, because Amazon, first of all, they take off a print cost. They take their share of the fee, so you don't really get much off the Amazon sales. So TikTok is sort of way more beneficial. I know you've got to spend costs on the shipping and everything, but you get sort of best of both worlds, really.
Yeah, definitely. And what you're doing on there is really great, because you're not just going on there and promoting, which a lot of people do on social media. It's like shouting into the void saying, buy my book. And it kind of doesn't work that way. And what we've learned is the more relatable, the more human you are, the more likely people are to connect with you and buy your book. And what you're doing, which I love on there, is building an author brand, but also a community. So you're having lives with other writers and, you're talking about your work as well. So was it a conscious decision that, I'm going to start building a community in that sense? Or was it always like, I'm just going to talk about my work? Because you've gone in a direction that has incorporated both of those elements.
Yeah, so initially I was just on there basically pitching my book every 30 seconds. And then, of course, you get speaking to a few of the other authors and you're jumping in each other's live streams. And then you start getting the chats on like, more personal stuff, like asking how people's days have been, this, that, whatever. And the more and more people that started joining in, because they were either a reader that was coming in and getting the books and you talk about them, and then they just start talking to you as like a normal human being as well. And you get other authors come in, and it just naturally grew. And we started off with maybe 3 or 4 of us. I remember we were doing some writing sprints at the start where we were having like a nice social chit chat as well. And it went from having 3 or 4 of us to now having a community where we've got like group chats and stuff where we've got 20, 25 authors, plus you've got loads of readers as well, and we're all popping in each other's streams and just talking, and you get somebody new come in, and if they can see the person is just a normal guy, I'm not anything fancy, and just can have a normal chat, you almost got to sell yourself, and that sells the book sometimes, because you know, if they can relate to you and everything, and then they go, okay, I'm having a nice chat with you. What's your book about then? And it's just a lot more easy to sort of sell it that way rather than just sitting there pitching your book 24/7. Just talk to people normally, and then you'll find it's so much easier. Like,
yeah, one of the comments just came in from Andrew. He says it's chaos most of the time. So yeah, that's the best way to do it. Have fun and be yourself. So yeah, it's really a good thing that you've done that, and I can see it growing and becoming bigger and bigger. And of course, we do occasionally pop in when we can, and join in the chat with you. I think I jumped on live with you once just to talk about some stuff, but it's really good. And you know, for the authors, and I talked about kind of at the start how it's kind of an isolated role as an author. So for the people that are kind of in their shells behind the keyboard and don't really want to venture out into the world of TikTok, but it could be very, very beneficial, what kind of advice would you give to them to say, you know, it can be done and it does work?
So it's just the confidence thing, because like everybody's sort of scared to show their face on camera and stuff for the first time, and sometimes you just sort of need that push and say, look, you can do it, because there's so many people that are doing it, and there's not really a reason not to, because everybody on there has been so lovely, you know, whether it's other authors, other readers, or whoever it can be. People are just coming on and being really, really nice. So to actually get yourself on there and go, you know, just get on TikTok, get your books on there, you know, sit down in the chair, do some writing with people, talk about your writing. You know, it doesn't have to just be on there trying to sell your books. It can just be talking about writing in general, because we get some people where they've come in, started chatting to us, and they've gone, oh, I'm going to have a go at writing myself as well now. So that's been quite nice as well, because we're actually sort of encouraging more people to you know, put their bum in the chair and give it a go.
Yeah, definitely. Anya says I keep procrastinating on TikTok, and I thought she meant the old doom scrolling, which a lot of us do that too much. But she says I keep saying that I'm going to do it, but I drag my feet. So it is one of those things that it is tough, you know, if you're not used to being on a camera. And certainly when we started this podcast, it was just audio. We weren't even remotely expecting to go onto camera, but we decided to do it. And of course, the first few were nervous, more than the first few, and you know, with 380 shows in, so it's kind of easier now.
Just for a second.
But you okay?
Yeah, you froze for a second there. I didn't catch. Sorry.
Yeah, so just saying, yeah, it's one of those things that it starts off quite difficult. It can be, but you can go on there and practice, and you can maybe just do friends or subscribers only. So there are ways where you can practice and build it up. So I would say to those people, you know, get in a group chat with us on camera maybe, and see how that goes, and then decide from there. But it is certainly beneficial. Maybe, William, what is one of the things that a mistake you may have seen from other authors that are trying to do what you're doing?
The biggest mistake is not selling on TikTok. I see so many that are promoting the book and saying, go over to Amazon and get it.
Yeah.
Whereas they should just.
Oh, we have a frozen.
I'd say another thing I see people not being, I probably fall into this as well, not being quite consistent enough. If you can, where I wasn't live as frequently as I should have been, and I noticed, you know, views and sales sort of dropped off a little bit. But now that I've sort of picked up again this year, it's gone up again. So you've sort of just got to stay consistent, because if you're not marketing it, you're probably not gonna sell.
Yeah, I think so. And especially when it comes to anything social media wise, if you're not consistent enough in the algorithms that swallow everything, it's not just TikTok, but yeah, just social media wise, those promotions are not really going to go down too well. So let's go back to Gone Before the Moon then. Someone had said there's a couple of 5-star reviews on there, which is obviously brilliant for a debut book as well. It was, okay, where have I got it? Atmospheric mysteries with scientific precision and psychological depth. So this is something on your website, and actually I'll go on to the reviews in a minute. Let's talk about atmospheric mysteries. First of all, as a writer, and people who've read your book and called it atmospheric, how do you create a sense of atmosphere when you're writing?
So usually I like to go quite fast paced with my writing. However, to create the atmosphere, if there's a scene where I really need to sort of nail down and go, okay, I need to have them visualize this, I sort of take a little bit longer to sort of explain and set the scene, because especially in the first book, there's a lab which I'm really trying to paint the picture of it. It's run down, it's scary, flickering lights, smashed glass, stuff. You've really got to almost just take that extra couple of sentences to make the reader feel it, because then for the rest of the chapter, or the rest couple of chapters while they're there, they're already sort of immersed into that room. Whereas, let's say they're running down a street, you don't need to be as specific, saying there's this, and this, because you're just dragging it on. But whereas if it's something they've really got to feel a sense of, whether it be something that's scary or anything, you need to sort of paint the picture a little bit more. Yeah. That's what I've found.
Yeah, it's great to have atmosphere and get thrown into that sort of environment. And once you feel like you're in it, like you said, you're sucked into that, and it feels great. So do you have an idea of not overstepping the line in that sense, where it becomes too descriptive? Because that is sometimes picked up from people. Yeah,
you've definitely got to sort of tread a fine line, because you don't want to go too far. I think the best way to do that is just to write, get people to read it and get their feedback on it. If they're starting to say, look, it's good, but you're dragging it on for too long here, you've got to change it up. Sometimes it's hard to tell yourself, because you can visualize it in your head and you're trying to write all these things, but to get somebody that's got no idea what the area is that you're trying to describe to come in and look at it, that's probably your best bet of just getting feedback off them, because they'll just be honest and they'll say, okay, I can visualize this too much, or this is not enough and you actually need more. So I think, just getting more eyes on it, and that's where getting beta readers and proofreaders is definitely beneficial.
Yep. And the other 5-star review that this comment is from, it says, a dark supernatural thriller that blends mystery, action, and emotional depth with great effect. And something that jumps out at me there is emotional depth. So this is talking about character, and characters lead stories most of the time, as well as the atmosphere and the setting. So how do you kind of develop your characters?
So I like to have a bit of a mix of characters. I like to have a load of different personalities in there. So one of my main characters is a 16-year-old boy called Duncan, and he's quite a nervous character, but then I wanted him to start as nervous, and by the end of the story I wanted his confidence to have gone up, because he's been taking this search on, and he wouldn't normally do this sort of thing, and he's really scared at the start, but as he's making more and more steps forward in this investigation, he grows and grows as the story goes. Whereas on the other hand, you've got certain characters where they start off as, I don't want to say aggressive, but they're a bit of a moody character, and as you sort of get to know them more, they warm up a bit. So I think it's always worth having a character, knowing where you want them to start, where you want them to end, and then just help them progress. You don't want them just to stay level the whole time, because it just gets a little bit boring. You want them to sort of change with the reader almost.
Yeah. In the comments there, Gemma says, I love Duncan, he's so brave. But also Andrew says, bring back Churchill. So yes, definitely love for the characters in there. And the next comment was, again, this was another 5-star review, so it's fantastic to see that feedback. But it says, I do feel this book is definitely a YA, but as a 40-plus-year-old woman, I'm still glad I read this. I loved it and devoured it in 2 days. So to pick up on this, it says it's definitely a YA, but I'm glad I read it as a 40-plus-year-old. So did you have any idea that this is kind of where your writing might be sitting? And this is just one opinion, obviously. It might not be the case, but do you think that is something you've picked up on or intended to do?
So it wasn't intended to just be YA. I think because the two main characters are younger, I think it gives off that impression, but there are some darker themes in it as well. So I think it appeals to the older readers as well as people that fall in that YA category. But it's one of those stories where, because I try to make it quite grounded and gritty at the same time, I'm trying to appeal to a fairly wide audience, which I think is why I've had a bit of a mix of people that have really enjoyed it, not just one certain age group or anything.
There's a few comments saying that Anya says she's 46 and loves YA as well. So it's not just an exclusive sort of genre. So, if you are hitting that wide audience, then absolutely, I think, nailing that completely. So the question is, for me, this is book 1 in the Black Veil Files. So this is a planned series. Before starting out and writing the first book, was it always a planned series, or is the plan of the series developed whilst writing the first book?
So initially, when I wasn't sure whether it was going to be sort of online short stories or what I was going to do with it, the plan was just to follow the same characters in book 1 and spread it out over, loads of sort of issues that I was going to upload online, or whether it be the same book, I was going to just do a direct follow on. But then I quite like the idea of the sort of, I'm going to call it like the Marvel approach, where you've got sort of different stories that come together in one final conclusion at the end. So I had the bright idea of each of the first 4 books doing a different supernatural element as the main sort of key to it. Of course, there's some other different supernatural bits sort of put in there as well, but you've got one sort of main focus with all the characters, all the plots and everything coming together for the finale. But it's still, there is some crossover characters. So the two main, or one of the main characters for book 2 did appear in book 1, but he was only a side character. So the story sort of follows on. So you can read them as standalones, you can read them as sort of continuations. Because I just thought, I quite like that idea of, somebody could just pick up book 2 and then just read it and they'd be okay.
Yeah. So have you planned exactly sort of the length of the series, or is this something that you're just going to keep working on as the ideas develop?
It keeps chopping and changing, to be honest. It started with 4 books, then it went to 6, now it's down to 5. But I've got all these ideas now. I'm doing short stories as well that are set in the world. I've got a prequel novella that I'm halfway through writing as well. So I've got all these ideas. I think I'm sticking with 5 now in the main series, plus a prequel novella and a few short stories. But the prequel novella is going to be completely separate. It's just going to be a little nod back to a character that people quite liked, and I was going to just set it in his younger days, let's say, just for a bit of fan service there.
Yeah, I noticed you released Echoes of Halloween Tide as a short story that is within the series bracket. So why do you feel like that short story was needed between, say, Gone Before the Moon and the next book?
So I wanted to do a little bit. The idea was it's a reader magnet, so it's to get people to sign on to my sort of monthly newsletter, because I'm trying to grow this community. So I'm trying to put out like monthly emails as well to people, sort of updating people on my progress and everything. So for signing up to the newsletter, people can get the short story for free. So it's a bit of a, if you sign up, you get a free story. I did it just before Halloween as well. So it was just a bit of a fun Halloween read. So the characters from Echoes of Halloween Tide don't appear in Gone Before the Moon, but they are appearing later in the season. There's a big mention to one of them in book 2 as well, which, if you'd read both, you'd probably pick up on it. But again, it's one where it's not going to be vital to, read the short story to understand the series, but it's just like a little extra thing that I thought I could put out just to, just because I'm enjoying writing. So I thought I've got a little story there that I want to tell. So,
yeah, I suppose it's a great way to develop, characters that fit within the world as well, that you could then use in the future writing. So, yeah, it's a good exercise and a great marketing tool to bring those people in. With someone said in the comments, the teaser trailer, which is great. I like that. So in about 2 minutes, we're going to go on to some staple questions from the show, and that leads on to questions from the audience. So start thinking about those, guys. If you want to start sending those in, or save them for the end, that's absolutely fine. So dragged into the Mao, is that the correct way to pronounce it?
Dragged into the More.
More.
Is
My apologies.
That's all good.
Yeah. So that's planned for early in 2026, I believe. So, how are you feeling about the upcoming release of that? Obviously, we spoke earlier a little bit about how, the success of book one leads into then the sort of trepidation, I guess, of releasing the second book. So how are you feeling approaching that?
So I'm nervous, but I'm looking forward to it at the same time. Like I think I've learned quite a bit. I've gotten like a little bit of a following now, so I'm hoping the launch is going to be a little bit better than the launch of my first book, because nobody really knew about it. I wasn't promoting it at that time at all. So yeah, I'm looking forward to doing like the launch night. I've set up an ARC program as well, where people can get a free read, like ebook version of it, in exchange for a review. So I'm setting up this sort of ARC program. So that's all quite new to me. So I've been so busy trying to set all this up. I'm re-releasing with the first one as well with a new cover, because I've now, through some of the money I've earned from my book sales, I've been able to afford an artist.
Yeah.
So I've got a brand new cover that's been designed. I'm just waiting on the cover for the second book. Hopefully they're going to look as close to as a fully published book as possible. It's
one of those things, isn't it? Because back in the day, talking, I can't really put a year on it, but indie publishing used to be kind of frowned upon, but it's so widely accessible and common now. And I think from what we've seen throughout the amount of guests we've had on the show, through traditionally published and indie press, indie published as well, that it really comes down to your marketing ability. And that's the same for the company and the individual. And Stephen Aitchison is one of the great indie authors on TikTok. You may have seen him, who really goes through his sales and his expenditure when it comes down to marketing. So he makes decent money, and I'm talking about really decent money, from being an indie author, but he's learned the process and he's doing really well at it. So I think, if you can work on those marketing avenues and you can get it right, then, there's no reason to chase the main, the traditional route, especially when you then, as you mentioned, you started selling the books, making money, and can afford the cover designers and things like that. So, you're definitely on the right path with that. And the followers are saying that book two is going to be devoured and bought instantly. So yeah, keep going with that. And I think that's spot on. An indie author, it can be a successful and profitable way to go. What's that comment say? Indie authors are here and here to stay. Can you read that? What's that say? Because I'm going to mispronounce it.
Yeah, I don't want to attempt pronouncing
them. Yeah. So when is the release due? Is that public?
So I'm looking at March. There's a chance it might get pushed back to April. I'm basically just waiting on the cover to be designed at the moment. So as soon as that's ready, I can then get that all sorted, send it out for some ARC reviews. I'm going to give them about a month to get in all their reads and reviews and everything, and then I'll be putting it on sale hopefully sometime in March. It'll probably be late March, but again, I'm not going to rush it. If I'm not ready to release, I'm not going to stress myself out. I'll just push it back a little bit, and it's not the end of the world. But yeah, I'm trying to keep people in the loop, but the trouble is it's hard to keep people in the loop when I haven't got an exact date myself.
I can hear you say it's not a big deal for you. I can hear the people in the comments going, "What?" Apparently, that word is Northern slang, and then someone else said it's from Cornwall. They use that in Cornwall as well. Cockers, I believe. Probably said that wrong. We better get copy number one. Andrew Stevens says.
It's going to be a few fighting for it, I feel.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah. You should put copy number one up for auction. That would be a great way to do it. Yeah, so let's move on to some staple questions, I think. And then, guys, again, think of some comments. So staple question wise, I've sent some of these ahead to you because they can be quite tricky to be put on the spot.
Yeah.
So hopefully you have seen these.
Yeah, I've had a little look.
Yeah. So if you could take any character from the world of fiction and write that character into, say, your story, or if you can't really think like that way, take that character out for a day, What character from fiction would you use and why?
So I was thinking more than just one character. I think it'd be really fun for like a Stranger Things crossover. I can imagine all the kids from that going over, especially because Cade and Duncan in my story are quite young. I think there could be some quite fun dynamics there. I could see some of the characters bouncing off some of the characters in my story, especially the grumpy police officer Churchill. I think that could be quite funny. So I'd probably say that because it's similar sort of genre, and I just think that'd be quite a funny crossover to see. So I'm just imagining if mine was a TV show that had been released, and then you could just sort of cross them over. I think that'd be quite funny.
Yeah, that would be good. Talking about like adaptations, if your character, sorry, his name slipped my mind. They mentioned it earlier. Your young character,
Duncan.
If your story was adapted for TV or film, who would you like to play for Duncan? Would there be anyone in your mind that you might know?
Oh, I'm just going to quickly Google. I can't remember his name. So it was he played Henry off The Walking Dead. I don't know if he's going to be a little bit old now. I think he's called Matthew Lintz.
Yeah.
So he's like a blonde kid because he played Henry quite well. But I got a feeling he might be a couple of years too old now. But yeah, I'd say that sort of vein of, young blonde hair, could play like a nervousy teenager.
Yeah, nice. Gordon's in the comments saying, who would you want to play Churchill?
Oh, that's a great question. I've never found an actor that I've looked at and gone, that's Churchill. I've not really got an answer for Churchill, to be honest.
Well, in that case, Gordon, do your homework as you're watching this and see if you can come up with someone and put it in the comments, and then we'll have a look on screen at who you suggest for Churchill. Brilliant, good answer.
Gordon's just put I'd play him.
Yeah. In regards to superheroes, before I forget about this, kind of what are your superhero kind of preferred? You've got your Marvel and your DC, sort of face off, but you've also got now The Boys, which is fantastic. What kind of superheroes are you into?
So I prefer Marvel. I've been getting into a little bit more DC. I quite like some of the more grounded stories. So I'm quite a fan of like Daredevil. I liked Robert Pattinson's Batman because I thought that was quite street level.
Yeah.
And I liked the fact that felt like a sort of crime mystery thriller with Batman just at the front. And I think that's what I sort of tried to base mine off a little bit. You tell a good story and then you just add in the supernatural bits into that. So yeah, I definitely think the more grounded thing, like I said, I don't really want somebody flying around with a funny costume. Don't get me wrong, I might put like a little bit of something in for a bit of comedy relief, but nothing like unrealistic. Well, I say unrealistic, it's not realistic, but you get what I mean.
Yeah, definitely. I couldn't stand it when Batman for me was always a human. He was always a human in a suit. And when Batman and Superman came along and Batman was in a big metal gigantic suit, it just did not work for me at all.
Yeah.
In the comments there, The Boys is feral. Have you seen The Boys?
I haven't seen it. It's on my list of things to watch. I keep getting told by everybody to watch it, but I've got about 1 million things I'm trying to watch. So
yeah,
it's really difficult.
I am a fan.
I definitely want to watch it.
Andrew also says Idris Elba for Marlon or his brother.
I'd say a young Idris Elba would have worked. I think he's too old for the character now, but I definitely think a younger version.
Oh, we do have a Churchill character actor, Brendan Gleeson.
Oh, I'll have a quick.
Let me see if I get the octopus. Absolutely. No, I can't do that right now. That'd be quite tricky. Yeah. So Marvel is quite interesting, and superheroes. There's a lot you can do with those. Obviously, they have done. So moving on to, and thanks for that question. I'll ask that in a minute. So moving on to, if you could change the ending to anything, whether it be a TV show, a movie, or a book, any ending, what would you change and why?
I'd do The Walking Dead because I feel like they sort of fumbled that at the end, and then they panicked and did a load of spin-offs, and now they're trying to bring it all together. I feel like the ending to that was quite messy. I feel like you should have just kept it a one show and tied it all in at the end, rather than doing spin-offs that half the audience haven't watched. I could say the thing of Game of Thrones, but I haven't got round. Again, that's another one I haven't got round to watching. But I know if I do watch, everybody screams that the ending wasn't good for that.
I'm glad you said everything you just said about The Walking Dead. I was a massive fan from day one. I remember the advert for it. I remember watching it on normal telly. I watched it for, I think, like 12, 13 years the series was on. And yeah, the same. All these spin-offs are just, there's only so much you can take from a show and lose the love for it. And it's such a shame, because it was a show that I was well into, and there's about 3 or 4 spin-offs I haven't even bothered with. So it is frustrating.
Yeah, 100%.
Lost and Game of Thrones, they need to sort those. Lost, I gave up on. That was horrendous in my eyes. It was Lost, literally.
It was good for a couple of seasons, and then it just sort of tailored off.
Yeah. I'm surprised Will didn't say Primeval.
Yeah, that's my brother. That was a show I loved as a guy. I didn't think of that one. Yeah, ITV cancelled it, and then they got bought out by another studio, and their last 2 seasons were dreadful. They ruined that show. But yeah, that was one as a kid. That's a little bugbearer.
One I have not actually seen, Primeval. And I got to mention this as well. It's going to sting, but Wolves, you're a Wolves fan.
Oh, yeah, to bring it up. We're doing all right, actually. We're unbeaten in 3, so that's, I don't mind talking about it now.
Well, there you go. It's all right. I'm a Cardiff fan, so it's even worse. Okay. Okay, in a second, guys, we're going to go into our final phase, which is the community questions. I haven't played it. Do you know what? I'll play you the last video just to show you that we've got them. I've completely forgot to do them. So community questions is coming up. So I'm going to play the video, and then you can start asking those questions. I know one's in there, so I'll ask that straight off the bat. If you've got questions for Will, please do send them in, and we'll get right to it. So, Will, if you are not writing, what is kind of your de-stress mode, a way to do kind of regulate and switch off from the writing and work and everything? What is that for you?
So I'm quite into my football, whether it be watching Wolves lose most weeks, or I do play, but I've had issues with dislocating my shoulder, so I don't play as often. I don't do competitive football or anything now. It's just more sort of leisurely with some friends and everything. So I enjoy that. I just enjoy doing like most things, meeting friends, running. I'm trying to work out a little bit, but I'm not really as consistent at that as I should be. I love my reading as well. I've been getting into audiobooks as well. Yes. The past sort of few months. So I've been enjoying them. Quite often going around to see family and friends mainly, because I've moved out as well now. I've got my own flat, which is nice, but my parents are already down the road, so I end up going around there to like watch TV together. So,
yeah, nice. I like it. Yes, that happens with age. The sporting stops and the injuries happen when you're not even moving. Definitely does. Thanks for those questions. Keep them coming in. I will get to them very soon. Something just slipped my mind, and it was a good question I was going to ask you for what you just said, but it's gone. Anyway, so one of the questions, staple questions that I didn't ask was, what does success mean to you? If you're on your deathbed, what does success look like for you? And that aligns with the question from Bright right now, which are, what's your long-term goals? So what are your long-term goals, and what does success mean for you?
So to be honest with me, it's just enjoying life, because I write because I enjoy it. So if I'm on my deathbed at the end, as long as I can go, I've had a good time, I've enjoyed what I've done. I think that's sort of the main thing. I think so far, like accomplishments like moving out by myself at quite a young age and securing a mortgage and stuff is like a big achievement.
Yeah.
But I always enjoy the process of that sort of stuff. I get quite a lot of pride in it. So yeah, I'd say just doing certain achievements like that and just enjoying it, really.
Yeah, fantastic. Good answer. Anya says, thank you. Are ghosts real in your opinion? If so, what do they want when they haunt the living?
I don't believe in ghosts, but that's not to say when it's dark and I hear something, I don't get absolutely terrified and run out thinking it is a ghost. I don't believe on them. I don't believe in them in the whole. But then again, if I'm in a dark room and I hear a noise, I automatically assume it's a ghost. So,
love it. Thank you for that. And we have Matt Lee. Oh, your brother.
Yeah.
Were there any characters inspired from shows or movies that you watched?
Oh, so I've had a couple. I've got the main villain of my second book. He's not based on this person, but I base his humor. Is Negan from The Walking Dead. Yes. I really like the sort of sarcastic, yet menacing, yet funny. Yeah, I don't really know how to feel if I was there sort of vibe, and I've gone for that with a character. I've just made him a complete loose end. So I really like the humor off that. And then there's certain sort of personality traits that I've got that I try to put into my characters as well. I think with Duncan, like, I'm quite a nervous person to start with, but then when I start to get to know people and I've been doing stuff for a while, I sort of grow in confidence. So I think I tried to replicate that a little bit as well. So there's like little bits here and there that I've sort of based on either myself, people I know, or sort of TV.
I think Negan is an absolutely wonderful character and casting.
Yeah,
it's interesting you said about being in that position, because I actually think, as menacing as he is, if he was talking the way he does in front of me, I probably would have laughed many times.
Yeah.
So that's a really interesting way to look at it. Okay, we've got a couple more in here. Thank you for these questions, guys. I've definitely seen some. Hang on. Oh, okay. We have from Matt again. Thank you. No, that was the same question. So what inspired you? Thank you, Gordon. What inspired you? Black Veil idea. Sorry.
So that's what the sort of evil group of the series is called. They're called the Black Veil. And I was sort of and ahhing with last names of one of the overall villains, and I sort of come across the name Veil, and I just quite liked it, and it sort of stuck with me. And then I was trying to think of a name. I was coming up with a few different ones, and I had the name Black Veil, and I thought it was quite a nice contrast, because you've got, you know, when people get married, you got your white veil and everything, and I thought it's basically the polar opposite. It's quite, you know, instead of being really happy, this is quite like a sad, scary group. I thought it was quite a nice contrast, and it's just a name that stuck as well. It was quite catchy, and I thought you need a catchy name for your villainous group.
Yeah, definitely do. Thank you for that. Andrew says, what is your worst fear? It's a nice question.
Ooh. I think it's the imposter syndrome that I keep mentioning, because I'm worried that I'm going to put all this effort in and then people are going to go, I'm not a fan of this. I think sometimes there's sort of social aspect of the live streams and stuff as well, thinking, you know, what are people going to think? Because I've had like a couple of, well, they were friends like in real life where they've sort of come across my writing and stuff, and they've, you know, made a few jokes and everything. So you always get a bit worried about that sort of stuff. But I think as I've gone on, I've sort of forgotten about that, and I don't really listen to people like that. I think they're not really sort of worth your time when they're doing that. So I think that's sort of a fear still, but I'm sort of getting over it, and I'm not worrying about it as much.
Definitely. Got a great question here, which is, how long do you think it will take you to finish writing the entire series?
I'd probably be looking at 2028, 2029. But again, it depends if I start adding extra books in there. I want to say 2028, 2029, but yeah, it sort of depends. I mean, if the Netflix deals come in and I can do writing full time because they want to make a series on it, I mean, I can probably get it done a little bit quicker. Just going sort of how I am, yeah, I still think it's a couple of years yet. I'm starting book 3. I've got another 2 after that, plus some short stories and the rest of the novella. So yeah, I've got a couple of years yet.
Definitely. Yeah, as you said, you wouldn't be rushing if it wasn't right. So you've got to keep that in mind there. Okay. Do you want to try writing in another genre? Is there a dream story that you would like to write?
So,
like a dream story or a dream story, if that makes sense.
I get, yeah. I sort of do subgenres in my writing. So in the first one, I've sort of got a bit of mystery and crime in there. Second one is more sort of action adventure, and there's bits of horror a little bit later on, where not like over the top, going to give you nightmares sort of thing. Book 3, I'm putting in a little bit of a romance subplot as well. So I'm sort of drip feeding other genres into my writing. I don't think I'd go, until the series is finished anyway, I wouldn't go completely out my way outside of the supernatural genre. I think once I've finished the series, if I can think of other stories in other genres, I'm not going to be opposed to it. I think it just, it depends what sort of ideas come to me. I would always love to do like a zombie series as well. That's like a little thing of mine I want to do after, because I think a zombie apocalypse in England hasn't been done right yet. I think there's a good market for that if it's done correctly. But again, I've got a lot on my plate at the moment, so that's a little bit on the back burner.
Well, maybe we could jump on a co-write for that then, because I'm big into the zombie genre, and if you want a community project, I'll be up for that.
Yeah, I'll be down for that, mate.
Yeah. Okay, we've got I'm not sure what this question is, but I want to ask it because it sounds good. Can Billiam do a wee woo?
That's a little. It was on one of Damien's streams. I don't even know how it started, and everyone just kept saying wee woo. So,
is it a thing that can happen or not? You don't have to, of course.
Wee woo. It's just saying wee woo. I'm
okay. Excellent. Love that. Thank you. Okay, let's see what else we got here. We've got 8 minutes. We've got plenty of time here. Okay, so will your next series be supernatural again or something different?
So yeah, like I said, I'd like to do the zombie series. I've got other ideas as well, but I'm not sure how they're going to sort of come out when I start actually plotting a story. Like for now, I'm just focusing on the supernatural Black Veil Files, but yeah, I've got the zombie series afterwards. I think that's the one I'm gonna go for. Okay.
Gemma says, "Can it be more enthusiastic, please?" You don't have to do that. Okay. There's a request there. We'll save that towards the end, I think. But yeah, let's go with that. Okay. If you could have, this is quite interesting. If you could have any merch for your universe to be sold in shops all around the country, what would it be? For example, like pop figures or trading cards or T-shirts or mugs. What kind of merch would you love to have?
I think pop figures would always be cool. I like trading cards because I think you can get quite creative with them, with some of the art prints, and some of them are like, you got the shiny things and they get quite collectible. I think the series would really need to take off before that sort of stuff was happening, and it probably need to be televised for that sort of merch. But I'd love that, to have things like that. I think trading cards would be really cool. Pop figures would be cool. T-shirts and mugs. Yeah. I've seen some sort of indie authors do that with their series, and that's quite a common one. But yeah, I think if it got into the realm of people were wanting and buying trading cards and things like that, I think I would have made it by then. So that would be really cool.
I think trading cards would be fantastic, even in the position you're in now, because you're talking about, the stuff you send off on the TikTok shop. If you had a set of trading cards based on your characters and things like that you could sign and send off, they would be great. So potentially something you could look into there. And I've got to 100%. Agree with Natalie here. Shaun of the Dead was great. She says, wait, not great British zombie film. It's more comedy.
Yeah, I think Shaun of the Dead was really good. I'm talking a more sort of long-term, dragged-out series, like something, like a Walking Dead, because you had Z Nation as well that was set in the States. Not just like a one-off movie, like a more sort of longer series. I think that's we've sort of been waiting for. I think Shaun of the Dead's great, but in terms of like a realistic, hardcore survival what would actually happen. I think that's what we're missing.
Like Atomfall, is that a zombie series in the UK that I've missed completely?
I think, is that not a game, Atomfall? Yeah, it's a game.
Oh, okay.
I've seen that. It looks pretty good. It's, yeah, set in like a English city, like an old English city.
Yes. Okay. What would the name of the organization opposite Black Veil be?
I cannot reveal that because that's in a future book.
Okay. Yeah. No spoilers. No spoilers. Okay. We've got a request I've saved here, and I do want to see if you'll do this. It would be quite interesting. And Andrew says, "Can we get a live read?" And I'm not sure what book he's specifying it. Obviously, not the new one, unless that is an exclusive. But yeah, can we get a live read? Is that something you're up for?
Yeah, of course. What would you just like? I could do the prologue. Like.
Yeah, go for it.
So the metallic tang of blood and antiseptic hung heavy in the air as she stumbled through the narrow corridor, her breath ragged and uneven. Fluorescent lights flickered above, casting jagged shadows that seemed to chase her every step. Her red headband was soaked with sweat. A few strands of her dark hair were plastered to her face. Her hands trembled as she gripped the edges of the dark coat she'd stolen, the oversized fabric billowing behind her like a ghost. Run. The voice wasn't hers. It never was. They're coming. Others chimed in, a cacophony of whispers and shouts that made her skull throb. She clenched her teeth, trying to drown them out, but it was no use. They were always there, an endless crowd in her mind, arguing, screaming, begging. She turned a corner, her bare feet slapping against the cold tile, and froze. The room ahead was small and dark, except for the faint green glow of a monitor in the corner. Her figure lay sprawled on the floor, half hidden by shadows. Her heart lurched as recognition slammed into her. "Billy," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the pounding in her ears. Her brother's lifeless eyes stared back at her, unblinking. His body was contorted, twisted as if he'd fought until the very end. She dropped to her knees beside him, her fingers brushing against his bloody cheek. He was still warm. So that's like a little bit from the prologue. I won't spend too long reading, but yeah, that's a little bit from the prologue.
That's excellent. Fantastic. Thank you so much for that. And thank you for the request there. I'm going to have a quick look for one or two more questions as they're coming in, and then we're going to wrap it up. But thank you so much for all of these guys. Matt says, would you do any community involvements in the future for names, like a competition to name someone, like I assume a character?
So I've done that with book 2, and I'm thinking of doing it with book 3 as well. So I did a little truth or lie game on my live stream, and we must have had about 20 people playing, and the winner got to have a character based in book 2. So it was another author called Damien that won, and I sent across the brief, and he created a character, and that character is going to be in the soon to be released Dragged Into the Maw. It's a character called Riddy, for those that eventually come across her.
Excellent. That's a fantastic way to like Matt said there about building the community and doing what you're doing there on TikTok, which is fantastic. So I think those engagements and that interactive sort of live show is fantastic for that, and build your readership and the community around you. So, well done, and keep that up there. Gemma says, we're all so proud of you. Andrew says, proud of you, bud. So there's a lot of respect and following there for you and your books, and it's fantastic to see. And it's awesome to see indie authors that are taking that step, putting themselves out there in front of the camera, trying everything they can to do things right. And it seems to be that you're doing that. So apparently Damien is here. So yeah, I think it's really inspiring for a lot of people that might be stepping into the indie author world and watching this or listening to it, and to hear that the steps you're taking and working, because there's a lot of people screaming into the void right now on social media. People who've built followings up on Twitter, that is now X, is just fallen off, and they're thinking, what can I do? And it might be intimidating, but there is an answer there. Jump on TikTok, talk about yourself, which I know is nerve-wracking, but can be done. Talk about your books, and jump on one of Will's lives, just start talking to each other on there, and build it up that way. Matt says, I can't wait for the website updates coming soon too. Is that something in the works?
He's the one that's making my website, so I always put that.
So if you need a website, speak to Matt. Domain name was spoken. He arrived. Domains. Damien's name. Sorry, I thought you said domain's name. I had websites in my head there. Okay, so before we finish this up, guys, William, can you tell everybody, or someone that might not be following you or know where to follow you and find your books, where can they do that? Where can they follow you and stalk you on social media? Where can they buy your books?
So the best place to follow me is on TikTok. My handle is William Lee Author with 2 underscores in between the words. I've also got a website as well, which I'm not selling on my website yet. However, down the line, I will be setting that up. So that's just williamleebooks.co.uk. On my TikTok as well, I've got a little Linktree bio where you can sign up to my ARC program for book 2, sorry. But I've included a free version of book 1 as well in there, just purely because if somebody has taken the time to read my story to leave a review, I'm also going to chuck book 1 in there as well. So yeah, you can get 2 free reads through my TikTok profile as well.
Amazing. Well, all I can say, William, thank you so much. As I said, it's very inspiring to hear your journey, and a lot of people will look up to that. So keep doing what you're doing, building a great author brand, a great community of followers, readers, and authors as well. Definitely be tuning into more of your lives, and hopefully we can collaborate a bit more in the future. And good luck for book 2. And don't be so nervous about it. Obviously, what you read is from book 1, absolutely fantastic, and the reception for it is brilliant as well. And thank you to everyone tuning in and supporting Will the way you have. So thank you from me. Anything else from you, William, before we finish?
Just want to say thank you to everybody that's sort of been in the chat, speaking and viewing. I want to say thank you to you as well for having me tonight. Really appreciate it.
No problems at all there. So well done, all coming in there. And from us, obviously, it's goodbye, but have a great weekend, everybody. Stay safe, and we'll see you all next week for another show. And probably jump into William's lives on TikTok. There'll be a few more in the week. Is there a schedule for those, Will?
No, because my social plans are sort of here, there, and everywhere. So I always just stream as often as I can. It's usually in the evenings. But yeah, I don't have set days or times yet. So
okay. Well, keep an eye out for the lives, but yeah, we'll see you there. Thank you, everybody. Have a nice weekend.
Cheers, guys.
Bye. To that.